Making the case for military action, traders and investors await the president's speech on airstrikes against Syria. In today's cover story, your iPhone 5 could soon become old school as Apple gears up with a new gadget. The hidden truth about banks and hack attacks, and why the less you spend, the hotter you look. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, September the 10th. I'm Angela Miles. In today's first look, the monster market move. The bulls had a stock stampede yesterday on positive news about exports in China and Japan winning the Olympic bid. The Dow is back above 15,000. The NASDAQ is at levels we've not seen since 2000. Gold was unchanged. Oil dripped down to $1.55. Bloomberg News reports Bank of America is cutting 2,100 jobs and closing mortgage offices as rising interest rates slow the demand for home loans. And top economists predict economic growth of 3% in the U.S. by the second half of next year. Matt Shapiro, president of MWS Capital, joins us now to take a closer look at today's market action. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Angie.
Well, the president makes his big speech tonight, but will it be a market mover?
Well, you know, a lot of people are going to talk about it, but talking to me, I think too many people are making too much about Syria, and I don't think it has anything to do with the level of this market.
What do you think is moving the market? We had some great data coming in from China already this week.
Well, I think that helps, but really it was a technical bounce from last week's really Goldilocks employment report, and it had to fake out. The market tested 1640, went right back. So here we are with really a strong technical move to the upside that can have a lot of momentum now.
Matt, a few weeks ago, you talked about putting money into Europe. All of a sudden, that is very much in vogue. Is it too late for people now to get involved in that investing strategy?
Not at all. I mean, there's some great European blue chips. We've talked about the ones that we own, such as Roche, such as Henkel, such as Bayer. So look at those top 50 European stocks, and I think you'll be pleased to find some really all-American, all-European companies.
Also, it's a big day for Apple today. What's likely to happen with that stock? It did cross $500.
Well, I think it's finally got to the point where the valuation, the dividends, the money coming out justifies the stock level. You know, I got to caution investors. I don't know if we can get to 700, but certainly on a valuation basis, there's more in the stock from here.
Matt, thank you for your thoughts today.
You're welcome.
Talk of Syria potentially surrendering its stockpile of chemical weapons is likely to get a mention in the president's speech tonight. Secretary of State John Kerry made what's viewed as an offhanded suggestion that Syria could avert an American attack by giving up its chemical weapons. That comment was welcomed by leaders in Syria, Russia, and the United Nations.
He could turn over every single bit of his chemical weapons to the international community in the next week. Turn it over, all of it.
The White House is said to be taking a hard look at the suggestion. The remarks cooled off an escalating situation as President Obama pushes for Congress to support his plan for an airstrike on Syria for a chemical attack on the Syrian people. The president addresses the nation tonight at 9 Eastern.
In today's cover story, Apple is expected to end speculation about the features of its latest iPhone in a highly anticipated announcement that may also introduce a new low-cost offering. The market is reacting to the buzz, with Apple's stock topping 500. Two new iPhones, a new operating system, and a music streaming service are rumored to be the highlights of Apple's media event Tuesday. But before the 10 a.m. kickoff in California, Apple's product rollout is already generating revenue for app developers like Brandon Pasley, whose team has had access to the beta version of the new operating system for a couple months.
We'll go through and test all of our clients' apps on the iOS 7 platform, ensure that they're working. If they're not, we'll call and say, you know, hey, we should probably update this.
Brandon is looking forward to the expected release of what's been dubbed the iPhone 5C, which is supposed to be an inexpensive smartphone made of plastic, available in different colors, and targeted to teens and emerging markets like China.
It's certainly interesting that they're going that route, and whether it degrades Apple's brand as, you know, a top tier or not.
Experts say Apple is trying to regain its eroding market share by going after users who have been opting for cheaper Android phones while retaining its loyal base with edgy new options like a fingerprint sensor predicted to be part of a new refined iPhone. Analysts say the iPhone 5S will be faster, more efficient, have more storage, and an upgraded camera.
I'm still in the market for a phone. I have to wow me over, but I may take a look at them.
But some experts say the latest iPhone isn't revolutionary enough to shake up the industry, leading to an anticlimactic drop in the company's stock price in the days following the announcement, unless Apple reveals a true surprise like the iWatch.
That would be pretty cool if it did. Wearable technology is going to be really cool.
But even that could be overshadowed by the influence of Carl Icahn. Some credit the activist investor with pushing up the stock price after tweeting that he has a large position in Apple.
Billionaire hedge fund manager Carl Icahn never ceases to amaze, and in his latest shocker, he's calling off his bid to buy Dell. Icahn staged a scrappy fight against Michael Dell for the computer company. In a letter to Dell shareholders Monday, Icahn wrote he's saddened at losing the battle, warned that Michael Dell is paying 70% under the stock's 10-year high of $42.38, and that the company is not likely to realize its full potential. Icahn is losing the battle for Dell because of a recent change to stockholder voting rights, making it easier for Michael Dell to win. Dell shares closed unchanged yesterday.
We think that Michael Dell has a better chance of turning around Dell as a private company. It's not going to be a pretty process. It'll probably incur a good amount of losses, but if at the end of the day he can end up turning around his company, that'll be a good thing in the long run.
Shareholders officially vote on who takes control of Dell Thursday.
In a rare move, some hedge funds are lowering fees. A new report by MoneyBeat says it's because investors are disappointed in the performance of the funds. A high-cost fund typically charges a standard 2% of assets and 20% of investment profits. But now the average charge is closer to 1.6% of assets and 18% of investment profits. Since the financial crisis, the funds have failed to churn out expected returns to investors.
The government wants to limit loans from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac as a way to back off from the mortgage business. Fannie and Freddie currently support mortgages with balances up to $712,000. The FHFA says it will be a gradual reduction in loan limits. The agency calls it an effective approach to reducing taxpayers' mortgage risk exposure while expanding private capital in mortgage finance. Critics fear it will shrink the number of home buyers.
Labor leaders are in for an uphill battle as they struggle against corporations. That's the word from Senator Elizabeth Warren in a speech opening the AFL-CIO convention in Los Angeles. The freshman senator kicked off the conference by voicing her support for the labor movement, which has seen a significant drop in political power over the years as union membership has declined. Labor leaders have supported Warren for her tough stance against Wall Street and trade deals that benefit corporations.
Koch Industries is buying electronic component maker Molex. The $7.2 billion deal represents $38.50 per share. The stock closed 31% higher on the news yesterday. Molex will continue to be an independent unit of Koch Industries. It is the latest acquisition by the powerful and politically connected Koch brothers Charles and David. In a statement, the co-chairman of Molex said the decision was difficult given the company's 75-year history, but that it represented outstanding benefits for stakeholders.
Luxury retailer Neiman Marcus is sold in a $6 billion deal. The buyers are Eris Management and the Canada Pension Plan. Neiman's sellers, Warburg Pincus and TPG Capital, bought the retailer in 2005 for $5.1 billion. The sellers had been looking for a buyer ahead of Neiman's IPO.
It's a sign of the times. Citigroup is taking its workers off the Chicago Board of Trade's grain and financial trading floors at the end of the month. Most of the staffers will shift into Citi's office in Chicago. This action is the latest in an ongoing exodus from the floor since most trading firms now use electronic platforms. Citi helped establish Chicago as the center of the world's futures trading. Last month, only about 3% of all CBOT corn futures were traded in the pits, according to the exchange.
Time Warner is the latest on a growing list of large companies to say it will move retirees from company-sponsored health plans onto new healthcare exchanges. Both IBM and GE have made similar moves. The companies cite the rising cost of providing health care and tout the increased choice available on the exchanges. Critics contend the new exchanges could offer fewer benefits while also costing retirees more.
Eventually, you'll be able to stop at Walgreens for a pack of gum, some shampoo, and lab tests. Walgreens has a deal with a lab testing service that will allow customers to get routine tests done at the drugstore that were previously happening at the doctor's office. The deal brings Theranos wellness centers to more than 8,000 Walgreens stores. Testing is expected to be less expensive and less invasive than typical lab tests. Prices will be the same for all customers, even if they don't have insurance.
It wasn't long after the announcement that Tokyo had won its bid for the 2020 Olympics that questions were raised about Fukushima. The hobbled nuclear power plant is only 140 miles from Tokyo. The Japanese government recently said it would take over control of cleanup after the plant admitted that hundreds of tons of radioactive water has been pouring into the ocean from the plant every day. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe told reporters that there has not and will not be any health problems related to the destroyed plant.
Tokyo winning the bid to host the 2020 Olympic Games did more than excite Japan. It also drove the Nikkei to a 5-week high. Stocks expected to benefit from the Games led the charge. Sportswear manufacturer Mizuno saw a surge in shares, and gym shoemaker Asics Corp also climbed, as did shares of contractors that may build new structures for the Games. Tokyo's bid committee estimates the Games could create about 150,000 jobs. However, some analysts warn there could be unrealistic expectations about the financial benefits from the Olympics.
Picture this. A painting found in an attic is confirmed as the work of famous artist Vincent van Gogh. The painting is called Sunset at Montmajour. A report by The Independent says it was discovered in a Norwegian attic and is likely worth tens of millions of dollars.
Nice. On the earnings calendar for today, it's Coldwater Creek, Christopher Banks, and Restoration Hardware. Still to come, from individuals to companies, what everyone needs to know about thwarting hackers. Then, sticker shock for football fans, and why driving an old car and splitting the check is actually cool. We'll be right back. Trading exchanges, banks, and federal regulators are all on the lookout for hack attacks to electronic trading and banking. Joining us via Skype this morning is Kenneth Greers. He's Senior Global Threat Analyst with FireEye. Good morning. And are trading exchanges in more danger than most people think?
Probably because banks and financial institutions, I think, have been slow to publicize the attacks they have received due to fear of embarrassment.
So if the banks aren't telling what's going on, what should they be doing, and what's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about?
Well, unfortunately, cyber attacks have a lot to do with the unknown and the unknown unknowns. And unless you have a good control of your own network, understanding of your own security events, you don't know if you've been hacked. And it takes some time to figure out what's going on. But there's been a lot of investment in cybersecurity, and I think today we understand more than ever that all computers, all networks are vulnerable. They all run, operating systems and protocols that hackers can abuse. And so we here at FireEye, we follow about 100 advanced persistent threat actors, and we know that almost half of those are actively targeting financial institutions.
That is incredible. The recent trading halt at the NASDAQ, along with the other outages that we've seen, any chance that those are hackers testing what could wind up as a shock to the entire U.S. financial system?
Sure. We see even governments and newspapers were slow to publicize attacks against them. One, they didn't know about it, and then two, they were embarrassed about it. Three, they probably didn't have the data. So it wouldn't be a surprise to see stock exchanges, investment corporations basically suffer the same kinds of attacks. We need to get for the agencies themselves to understand the problem better and be able to articulate it to the public in a more realistic and better fashion.
Kenneth Greers, thank you for all that information. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Coming up, for anyone turned off by a date who shows up driving a clunker, Bill Mahler explains why frugal is sexy. Also, $75 for parking, the economic realities for football fans. First Business continues after the break.
Here's the question: who is sexier? Somebody with the expensive car, the $400 hairstyle, the $1,000 outfit, or the person wearing the bargain basement clothing, driving the Prius? Well, it very well may be the latter. Jennifer Waters is a columnist for MarketWatch.com, and the headline of your story, let me read it here. That's very fascinating. Are frugal people more attractive? And I guess from reading your article, you can't argue with psychology.
No, you can't, and I'll tell you, it's not even just are they more attractive, but are they sexier? Are they hotter? And basically what this study found, and this is a study out of the University of Michigan, found that it didn't matter if you said Joe Schmo, if he was attractive or not. If you put his picture up, the women would say he was attractive. The same thing with Jane Doe. She was attracted to if she was a saver. And we're talking about savers, not cheapskates, but savers.
All right, well, what is it about savers? Do we give off some energy that suggests we're a saver?
Well, it's all about relationship control. And it's all about, you know, like anybody who's tried to save money knows that it is really all about control. Who doesn't like to spend money? So when you are saving money, you're controlling your impulses to spend. So now we can push that onto other layers of your life. Can you control your eating? Can you control your drinking? Can you control your
self-discipline,
mouth?
basically.
Self-discipline, self-control, and being a nicer, friendlier person because of it.
Well, what is it like? How can we tell when somebody has these qualities, say, on a first date?
I was going to say, even on a first date, you can tell these things. It's basically the difference between a saver and a cheapskate is somebody who it pains them to separate money from themselves. They don't want to give a tip, for example, to the waitress or waiter because they might not want to give away that extra money. A saver, on the other hand, will know that that's not the place to save money because that's somebody's livelihood. So that saver will know, you know what, if I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it the right way and I'll cut back on something later.
So this is almost as though they had empathy as well.
Exactly. But a saver also is like saving for something bigger. It's not, and that's the difference between a cheapskate and a saver as well. A saver is going to say, listen, I'm not going to have that extra drink or that extra latte or whatever. I'm going to save that money maybe for vacation, maybe for a nice gift for this significant other, something like that.
And that's the person that makes the better partner and ultimately spouse.
Right, because they're in self-control.
Jen Waters, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bill, those frugal spenders will want to avoid going to a football game. The 2013 football season is here, and price tags such as $75 for parking are causing sticker shock even among the most devoted fans. Ticket prices have also jumped and are up more than 50% in the last decade. The league average is $82. Still to come, why some traders are ready to pounce on the opportunity to short Apple stock. Chart Talk is next. Chart Talk with Chris Gersh of Altimus Capital. And Chris, what is the scuttlebutt on the trading floor about the 10-year Treasury?
Really, we had this yield yesterday come down a little bit, and that was a little bit surprising considering where the S&P futures were trading above that great news that came out from China and Japan. That was a fantastic buying opportunity for me. I'm continuing to hold those on until the open today, and I really believe as a trader we're looking to the Apple news as a possible selling point to get out of the futures. But before that, it's been a great ride this last day and a half.
So you're telling me that money's going to come out of the S&P 500 and go into Apple. That's going to be the trade of the day today.
I really believe that is the trade of the day. Individuals think that Apple, if they come out with that fantastic innovation, is going to be a buying point. But as a trader, I'm very suspect. Any news announcements, it's had such a large, rise up since the ICANN announcing that he was going to have dinner with the CEO, that traders are, with the light volume and the high volatility index being so at this point, as a possible selling point in the S&P futures.
So where would your selling point be?
The selling point right now, if it gets below the 1610, 1605 level, a lot of traders are going to smash the bid, meaning that they're going to sell it very hard in the futures pit, and I'm going to go along with the crowd.
And then where would your selling point be in Apple?
Apple, I believe that right now we're fixated about $10, $20 is really where that 55-day moving average is, right where we are currently. And so if it dips below that 55-day moving average, we're all going to become sellers.
Ooh, thank you for your insights today, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up tomorrow, how to avoid feeling like the family ATM, how to lend money to relatives without ruining relationships. From all of us at First Business, thank you for watching.